Hey everybody, Ben here. I wanted to let you guys know that we ran into an unfortunate issue with my audio this week on the live stream. We decided to still post this week's episode of the podcast because we had some really great discussions, and I hope that you guys can still enjoy this as we continue to develop our platform. We're always looking to improve, and thank you guys for your support. Enjoy the show. Tonight, we take a look at some exciting new games coming soon as the copyright crisis continues to wage war against creators everywhere. In this environment, it might still be possible for some streamers to gain a competitive edge. All this and more on this week's episode of the Always Gametime Podcast. Hey everybody, my name's Ben, and welcome back to the show. Joining me, as always, is my partner in crime, Ryan. Ryan, how are you doing this week?
Oh, we're doing good. Having a good week. Excited to talk some games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talk about a crazy week for just releases and announcements and previews.
Yeah.
It's been wild.
Yep. I mean, there's a bit of bad to go with all the good. I mean, there's companies trying, but we'll get into that and be more critical than maybe you've heard elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely want to make sure that you guys feel like you're getting an unbiased opinion. We'll always pretty much tell you guys right how we feel about a game or review for a game. So to kick us off this week, we're actually going to head it over to Ryan, who's going to tell us about one of the things that was announced a couple days ago.
Yeah. So the Twisted Metal PlayStation series franchise, right? It is getting its own show. This is a long line of a bunch of games that are kind of going to TV shows. The interesting part about this, it's going to have the same writers as Deadpool and Zombieland. So that's going to be kind of interesting. We don't know where it's going to be, but we're thinking like 2022. So sometime next year.
Now, I have to admit, I've never played Twisted Metal. Have you?
I have, right? That's kind of in the PlayStation wheelhouse. And especially growing up, I mean, I was never as bonkers about it as a lot of other people, but I enjoyed it. It was good for what it was.
Yeah, the closest I've been is they have a car in Rocket League that's based off the game, and that's about all I know. But I am excited because I'm always looking for new TV shows too. So
yes.
Cool. Well, moving on, we have some exciting news for anyone that is a fan of the Watchdogs series. I know between Ryan and I, this is kind of more my genre of game, and I've played every Watchdogs game, and so this is something I'm excited about because I don't know if you guys know this, but the game was originally announced to have their multiplayer launch on December 3rd, and that has now been pushed back to March 9th. But the good news is usually when a company does a delay like this, it means that on their release, it'll be hopefully, fingers crossed, successful launch of the multiplayer. So we're going to have some 4-player co-op missions. It's going to feel a little reminiscent of some GTA Online, but there's also going to be an 8-player PvP Spider-Bot Arena, which is quite the mouthful. But if you guys have ever played the game, you know Spider-Bots are super integral to everything Watchdogs. So that's exciting.
Yeah, so the 4-player co-op has me interested, right? Even not being a Watchdogs player myself, but that would get me, a game that I can jump in and play with my friends has always got my eye. And, the thing with delays, one delay is fine, but when you start racking up 2 or 3 delays, that's when you got to raise the red flags.
Yeah, absolutely. And this delay was actually caused to issues with the single player, so we'll see. The multiplayer, we'll still keep an eye out. We'll see how it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now PlayStation announced that they're gonna make a new VR system. So this is gonna be completely made for the PS5. I was amazed that. Did you know the PS4 or whatever, the old PlayStation VR is 4 years old already? And I never would have guessed that. So be on the lookout for new games and new features to how that is. The first one was pretty successful and popular.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'd love to see some kind of improvements from the first model. I watched a lot of people that used it and had some, minor complaints, but to do VR on a console, I mean, that's pretty wild, right? So
yeah. What kind of complaints did you hear? I guess because I haven't really heard much.
I actually heard a lot of desync issues and just like performance-wise on the VR titles themselves, which might not, have anything to do with the VR system, but
yeah, hey, maybe that'll be fixed with the PS5 too. A lot more power there.
Definitely. All right. So I did not tell you about this one on purpose, Ryan, because I kind of wanted to catch a reaction on stream. We have some exciting news in the horror genre. If any of you guys like to play horror games, a new game demo has released for Etched Memories. And in this
Dude.
game, I kid you not, you play as a cat. Ryan, go. What do you think?
That's awesome. Yes, a horror game where you're searching as a cat. I assume that it's going to be a very cinematic movie or a cinematic game, right? One that's just dominated by certain scenes that's going to leave the gamer just remembering them forever. So yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, the trailer leaves a little bit to the imagination. The gameplay looks a little bit wonky, but sometimes games in the past that have, kind of glitchy mechanics have actually been appealing to, gamer culture, and we'll see how people
Yeah.
react to this one.
What Heavy Rain's is a perfect example of that, in my opinion, right? Kind of got that wonky gameplay, but yet the story and the just the aesthetic of it was just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so now Days Gone is coming to PC. This is one of the games that I actually took a day off work and played all day on stream for way back when. I was disappointed at the time, but regardless, it's worth the look if you are a PC gamer. This is something like that we're going to start seeing a lot more of, right? We talked about MLB The Show going to all systems, and Horizon Zero Dawn went to PC. Now they're talking about even Gran Turismo going to PC. So be on the lookout for those PlayStation games and kind of, the exclusivity that we talked about last week kind of going away.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see PlayStation jumping in on the race. I'm more of an
Hmm.
Xbox fanboy, but the Game Pass for PC was really cool and is still something that I utilize all the time. And I'd love to get some exclusives on the Sony side to my rig. So very excited
Yeah,
about that. And then just to kind of round out some of the general headlines and news that we saw last week, we have a new demo for Outriders, which I
looks
don't
really
know
good.
why this is happening, but all of these crazy games, I'm finding out about them like the day they release instead of months in advance. I haven't seen
Yeah,
trailers or gameplay snippets or anything, and so this one caught me as a surprise. But it's got kind of a Destiny vibe to it. It's got multiple
for sure.
classes that you can play. It's got loot that you can grind and build up upon in your character, and it's actually something that I think is going to be really big, and it's going to make a huge impact to streaming and also just gaming in general. So
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see it play it. Right, I don't think I'm gonna pick it up yet, but it's one of those things. Anything that can do the Destiny type grind right, it's gonna have a big loyal player base. Right.
yeah, and I mean, with four different types of classes too. I mean, that's one more than the Destiny,
Hmm.
archetype. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people grinding that game when it officially releases. I believe on April 1st. So
Yep.
cool. Well, that's just kind of some of the things that we thought were interesting to talk about. Hopefully, you guys have heard some of this before maybe the show, but if you haven't, then we're happy to share that with you. Make sure to connect with us in the chat or in the comments and let us know what you guys are excited for. But now we are going to move on to a little bit more serious topic for the show, something that affects all creators across this website of Twitch, which we love and also sometimes hate. So
Yeah.
we'll get into why we're bringing this up here in just a moment. But if you guys have not heard, Twitch has been plagued with some copyright slash DMCA issues for a long time now. And it's not something that's new, but it's something that had recently kind of resurfaced and reared its ugly head and is making headlines again. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means, just in case we have a general audience listening in with us this week. But basically, DMCA stands for the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and it is a copyright law that is meant to protect artists from having their content used without permission or clearance. So at the base level, this seems like something that would be really good, really beneficial, something that everyone needs. I know I wouldn't enjoy someone taking a clip of mine and getting, notoriety and possibly even money from it, especially without checking with me first. But this has brought in a lot of issues for the content creation community, specifically. And Ryan, I want to get your opinion on this here in just a second, but I know that when I first started looking into streaming, when I first heard about Twitch, the thing that everyone always pitched to me as a platform was, man, it's great. There's like hardly any copyright issues. You can do music. You can listen to music on your stream and people can enjoy it with you. Similar thing for you, right, Ryan?
Well, I mean, we didn't think of it that way, but it was more like, hey, yes, you can play games, play music, do whatever, be yourself, and show the things you want to show. And now that hammer is really dropping down, like you said, this copyright strikes of we're talking any music. So if a game you're playing has copyright music, you can get that flagged, right? I did a
Yeah.
fundraiser, I guess it's almost been a year ago, where we played Beat Saber. That all those videos are just flagged. Like I cannot show them anymore because they had copyright music, even though I was doing a game for charity. Right? I'm more on the side of being against this copyright act than being for it.
Yeah, and it just limits freedom. And I mean, I know
Yes,
we
yes.
say it seems more open, but more open than what? Well, if you look at some of the competitors, like YouTube, for example, YouTube's copyright has always been super strict, at least from the time that I've been
Mhm.
utilizing it to create content. And so, now Twitch has been cracking down, whether that's due to just them continuing to expand and be the dominant streaming platform, or when it was Amazon took over, whatever the contributing factors are to the issue getting more strict, is kind of not what we're really taking a look at here, but we're more so looking at the impact that it has on creators. Specifically, one example that I like to bring up when I talk to my friends about this is musicians on Twitch who have made a career for themselves and made a brand for themselves, and then now are
Yep.
having a hard time doing their performances because they can't play along to an instrumental or another song, right? And there's
Mhm.
actually a really funny clip, as sad as it is, there's a funny clip of a drummer on Twitch who, when this all first started coming back out, said, like, Twitch, please do something, this is what I have to do. And he was drumming along to a meme song made of like, just, it was awful. But the point is, what are they going to do in the situation? And then the even crazier part that I think is exactly what you said, even music inside of games now is causing issues, and game developers and companies are starting to implement streamer options, which
Yes.
it kind of changes the whole vibe as a player, right? I know
Mhm.
every streamer, a lot of streamers want to immerse themselves into the game, into the lore, and kind of that environment. And unless a developer's gone out of their way to have streamer safe music, you have to disable all music just to be
Yeah.
safe. And it makes a lot of those like intense boss fights feel kind of boring,
Yep.
to say,
And and it's kind of a slippery slope a little bit. I mean, how much longer until because it's bots that implement all this stuff, right? When it comes to streams and videos for streamers specifically. But how long is it going to be until they come after Instagram or TikTok videos, right? I think it's kind of a slippery slope, and really that would just wreak havoc on them as well. So it kind of even goes to the general population, not just us gamers whining about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and again, if you guys are maybe new to this issue or haven't heard of it, what happens is Twitch has implemented an automated system for your broadcast in the past, where if you played copyright material on your stream, they automatically detect it and just mute it in the VOD, in the video that people can watch after the fact. But the issue now, the major issue that you've seen even big creators getting strikes from, is clips. And the clips, whatever they have that automatically detects it, for whatever reason, they can't do that same thing for clips that other people create. And if you're a big streamer with 2,000 viewers, then you're not going to
Mhm.
be able to go through all of your clips and manually, delete them and detect this kind of thing. So it's just really impacted a lot of the ways that people approach their stream. And it's definitely sad to see. But the thing that I wanted to bring up, and this is kind of where a little bit of the humor comes in for this topic, is
This story's
recent.
awesome.
Yeah, it's so great, and I love this image that we've prepared for the show today to kind of accompany it. But recently, at an event called BlizzCon, or BlizzCon Online, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, we did not cover it, but it's for Blizzard, game developer publisher company. They had Metallica there to do a live performance for their stream, their broadcast, because it's virtual this year with the pandemic, and everything, it changes things a little bit. But in the middle of Twitch's official channel, when they're covering this major event, all these people are watching, Metallica starts playing, and you could tell whoever's running the stream instantly like freaks out, mutes all audio, and about 10 seconds later, this like music you would probably find in an Animal Crossing game starts playing. And it's like you have hardcore like Metallica, like, on stage doing all their stuff, and it's just like ba da 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 da, like elevator music. It's
It
it's
was, it
crazy.
was. Oh, and now people have just run rampant with redubbing it. I've seen Baby Shark. I've seen, just all the basic, meme songs with it too. It's great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, I know you had a note on here too, a little bit more about Metallica, which is a band
Oh,
I'm familiar with, but
yeah. So I mean, I might be old guy here, but back in the early 2000s, Metallica is actually the band that went after Napster. Napster being the one of the first MP3 and other file kind of sharing system online, right? And Metallica sued them for copyright infringement. And I mean, you could say kind of like all these copyright strikes. This might be like the first block of it, the first place we've seen it. Napster ended up closing over the legal fees, and it's kind of a karmic thing that I see by them getting muted on Twitch. I smiled a bit.
yeah, absolutely. And you have to imagine, guys, like you see stuff with Twitch all the time, which is them trying to be careful, cover their, everything from getting into legal issues. It happens all the time. And there's no way they want to try to mess with the same band that took down Napster, right? So I understand the panic and the reason that they did it, but it just goes to show you how deep the issue is that even on Twitch's channel, like the platform, that we all stream and do stuff on is still doing everything they can to avoid DMCA issues, which I thought was pretty wild, pretty crazy. And so if you guys haven't seen the clip, we're going to post a clip of the audio on our new Instagram account, which you guys should check out. You can do !Instagram in the chat to get directed to that, but definitely go check it out because it's hilarious.
Yep, Always Gametime Podcast.
Yep. And there is some light at the end of the tunnel. You guys know we do a lot of music here on our pre-show and our intros and outros. And we really like to advocate for Stream Beats by Harris Heller here on the stream because right at what seems kind of like the peak of this crisis where everyone's freaking out, don't know what to do, Stream Beats comes out and drops all of this royalty-free, copyright-free music for creators. The sole purpose was for creators to be able to use this to backtrack their streams. And, it's all types of music too. It's like you got some EDM, lo-fi, rock, and now they're even coming out with new albums with like actual lyrics and some stuff in them too, which is just, it's really cool. And it's nice to know that there's still some good resources available to creators while this bigger issue is getting figured out, right? So
Yep. So if you're out there as a creator, YouTube, streaming, whatever, check out Harris Heller, Stream Beats. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big thank you from us for,
Yes.
obviously us using those assets. But in any case, let us know what you guys think. This was hilarious to me, but it also was something that just made me sad on the inside. And I want to know how many of you guys out there can relate. So
if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. All right, on to the PlayStation State of Play. All right, so they announced a few games. There was Friday Night at Freddy's, the Security Breach. We had Solar Ash, right? We had a new game, Knockout City. There's various games that they announced, but so my gripe isn't at all with the games. Okay, it is with the games they announced because they were all B Squad games, right? I mean, we're maybe Crash Bandicoot, maybe Final Fantasy VII, but this was largely just a snooze fest. They literally just played trailers after trailers, and that's all we got from this. I was very disappointed. I watched it live. I think it was 4:00 yesterday, so Thursday. That would have been February 25th, and it wasn't a waste of my time because it was only a half hour, but it was largely Resident Sleeper all day. Ben, did you see any of it? Did you have any takes from it positive?
Sure. So I did not have the opportunity to watch. I'm glad that you were able to kind of tune in. It's kind of sad to see that it was just mostly like trailer on trailer, but at the same time, I could understand if there's more limitations this year with the pandemic. But yeah, I mean, even some of the games on this list aren't like new games. Like you mentioned Crash Bandicoot, like that's just an upgrade to the new console. Final Fantasy VII Remake, I know a lot of people are excited about that, but I never want to be the guy who's like, we need more games, or like, what was this awful conference like? Because I think genuinely, especially this year, everyone's doing their best, right? And a lot of people could argue that the release of the consoles were accompanied with like little games as well. So I'm just a little disheartened to see that there isn't more coming.
But hear me out. Just name it something else. Don't name it the State of Play, right? Because look at what Nintendo did last week. I mean, I didn't praise it a whole lot, but they just blew it out of the water compared to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I think maybe if the show had been formatted maybe differently or something like
Yes.
that. But
Yes.
I know that a few Sony diehards or hardcore fans of some of these titles are going to be excited for just
Oh, for sure.
anything new to come out and play. And obviously, we're always excited to see
Yep.
new things coming to the
And
gaming world. So
speaking of, Deathloop looks really fun. I don't know if many people have played VR, but there's a game called Super Hot. Basically, Deathloop looks like this. They saw Super Hot and they're like, all right, we're gonna make a real game out of this. And what that is, basically, you have this amount of time where you just have to get from point A to B and eliminate your enemies as well. It looked like a very interesting idea. I'm curious to see how that game does.
yeah. So again, not to naysay Sony, whatever,
Hmm.
but a little bit of an underwhelming announcement. And if you guys want a full list of those titles, then we could obviously post that somewhere on our socials as well. But it was about 10 or so announcements, and yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, we'll see. I'm excited to see a few of those things, and one of which being the new Five Nights at Freddy's game.
Yeah.
I have played a bunch of those in the past, and you guys know I hate horror games, but part of me feels like I can't help but maybe stream that coming up here in the future. So we'll see.
Nice.
Cool. Well, that was the state of play. It was pretty cool. Hopefully, you guys got a chance to check it out. And we are going to now move on into our games radar segment where we like to take some new games that are upcoming and assess them both for what they are as well as if they would be a good streaming candidate for any creators out there. And the first one is something that I put on the list specifically because I'm excited about it, and that game is Loop Hero. Loop Hero is a new roguelike which is coming to Steam on March 4th, so pretty soon, it's around the corner, but it has a demo that is free to play out now. And it is published by Devolver Digital. If you guys are thinking, why do I know that name from something? Fall Guys is, still also published by them. So that was obviously a huge game that came out and kind
Yes.
of blew everything out of the water during the pandemic. But there's a lot of reasons I actually want to cover this game because it's kind of new and like to anything that I've played before. And I'm curious because I want to hear more from Ryan to see if he's seen or played anything like this. But it's a roguelike, but it's more like a auto-scrolling adventure game than it is a dungeon crawler. And what I mean by that is the gist of this game is your character will traverse around the map automatically in this predetermined loop shape, and it will face enemies along the path. All you can do as the player is stop them from moving or let them continue to move. And when they encounter enemies, it'll just do a fight automatically. There's no picking attacks, there's no defense. It's like a stressful situation where you just have to, with what you have and how much health you have to either get through the fight or die. Um,
Yeah.
and it's pretty cool. I'd never really seen anything like that personally, but I'm sure games like this have existed, right? It's probably not a new idea.
Yeah, I haven't been able to check out much on this game, but usually the roguelike draw me in a bit. But when it comes to dungeon crawling and those type of games, like Diablo is a perfect example for me, that I just play them to that 30-40 hour mark and I'm done, right? I throw them away and they never existed again. But this game looks interesting. It kind of looks almost idle-esque, where you can kind of play it in spurts. Maybe you're doing something else. Maybe you're lucky and work from home like I do, and you have 3 monitors up, and one of them has this game up. Right? Who knows? Who knows? Hopefully, no one from work is watching that. I never do that ever. All right, but no, the game's got my eye a bit. I'll have to check out more gameplay.
Yeah, some noteworthy features about this is already the unique gameplay mechanic, which we've covered, but also its art style is very simplistic. We're talking about like 64-bit, like pixel animation,
Hmm.
but it looks really good. The fights are a lot more detailed than the actual map that you traverse. It's got critical decision making that balances like your feeling of control versus oh crap, I'm gonna die, because you can place down tiles which benefit your HP or resource gaining, and I'm not gonna get into a deep dive, but basically the decisions you make will keep you alive or get you killed. And if you die, you
Yep.
lose like 60% of the loot you gained on the run, and it's not a good situation.
Yep.
But another thing which I think all roguelikes have is a replayability factor. You would
Yeah.
think how entertaining can a game where I walk in a circle endlessly be, but because of the way that they've structured upgrading your equipment and upgrading your base outside of the individual runs, I think it's got a lot of things going for it. But this is where I think the game kind of ends in terms of our streaming segment. it does kind of lend itself to streamer friendly format. You're on YouTube. Some of these runs, I've played the demo quite a bit. Some of these runs can take like 45 minutes to an hour
Ugh.
of you building your character out, getting loot, and then ultimately just retreating back to your camp. And so I think that it's definitely better for a stream where you can kind of interact with a live chat
Yep.
and, talk about your prolonged experience versus YouTube. But this will probably just be something for you guys to play between the games, so to speak, on your streams.
Yeah.
As always, decide for yourself. But a few streamers have started hitting the category early with demo gameplay, and nothing crazy to talk about at this point, but we'll certainly keep our eyes out and update you guys in the future when the game officially releases.
Yep, looks interesting. Looks interesting. So one of the games that had my eye recently was this RetroMania wrestling. Right? I mean, yes, it's just a casual wrestling game, but one of the things that this genre it's just missing, right? WWE and all those types of fake type wrestling, they've usually always had good games to go with them, but WWE 19 and 20 have been kind of disappointments. Some people liked 19 or some people liked 20, but 21 was terrible. So I was kind of watching this game and it kind of got me thinking, right? Right. It's like, and I'm going to hold on to that just a little bit because that's our next topic and I'm going to stick to the game here. But so this game came out today and I watched a bit of it. Literally, like, have you ever seen a game where you've watched multiple streams, 4, 5, 6 people play, and they can't beat the second level of a game?
Maybe Dark Souls.
Yeah, I guess Dark Souls. Yeah, this is the Dark Souls of wrestling. No one could beat literally the second match they had. It's versus a guy named the Blue Meanie. No one could beat him. I did not see anyone beat him the whole time. So obviously that it's difficult. It's a button mashing. There's literally 4 buttons that you hit to play. And yet no one could beat him. It did look very streamable though, because the top streamer had 61 views and there was only 15 people streaming it. So that if you wanted to get some visibility, this is a great game for that. Kind of get a new crowd as well if you're not really into the wrestling stuff, but could talk about it. But some of the negatives on the game, there's no create a wrestler, there's no online play. It's basically Royal Rumble and a story mode. So that's I think I'm gonna be removing this one from the wish list, but it was good to check out for the time being.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I absolutely loved the art style of the game, and it seems like
Yes,
it
yeah.
brings me back to my childhood of button mashing and fighting games when I had no idea what was going on. But I couldn't agree more with your analysis and assessment on the game overall. I probably won't play it, but looks cool. Something new and
Yeah,
fun.
it was an indie developer. It kind of gave you the idea that it might be like the old school No Mercy or WCW versus NWO type games. Those are like on the N64, and those were hugely popular. Still kind of are today. I mean, the gameplay kind of aged out, but people are kind of looking for that next thing, and I don't think they've nailed it yet. But go ahead. Did you have something else, Ben?
I was just, do you think that like the diehard WWE fans are gonna have a kind of conversion to this, like want to play it just for what it is? I mean, it kind of rings a lot of those
Kind of.
bells that WWE does for me, but
A little bit. So I dropped into, I think it was 6 or 7 streams, and 3 of them just said they wanted a game that you could just do computer versus computer, and they wanted to commentate, right? So I don't think it's going to hit that. I don't think it's going to do that for them. I don't think it's going to give them what they want. And that kind of leads us into our next topic a little bit. And with I had an idea and I pitched it to Ben that with this game, someone should just be a character. They should be a WWE character while playing this game, right? Fully deck it out. I mean, you can't go no shirt, but some white tee, headband, colored hair, and then we kind of got to talking about character streamers and who our favorite character streamers are, and whether characters should be more of a thing, whether it's any kind of content creation, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. Ben, did you have any takeaways from our conversation before?
yeah, absolutely. I think this is something that like for people love it, and it's so fun to just disengage from life and stress and
Yeah,
work and tune into a stream where this person is portraying an over the top character and you get to watch along and just enjoy the stream and the outrageousness of their personalities
Yes.
that they can think and come up with. And so we're going to talk about a few that have been very notable in the streaming communities, as well as
Oh
just
yeah.
if we think it's, you know, it's probably not right for a lot of people, but for the people that it is right for, it seems to be really fun. And we've got a pros and cons list we'd like to review as well. So
Yeah, yeah. And before we get to that, like one of the people that actually brought me to Twitch was Sheriff Eli. He's kind of a bigger streamer now. I watched him come up and really get big playing Grand Theft Auto roleplay, right? Obviously, all those are, kind of that's the whole point of it. The roleplay is to be a character. But he would even take that Sheriff Eli role and play other games like Arma, which is an army game, or Project Zomboid, which is literally just trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. You know, those people that were able to shift it from one game to another, I think really, they're gonna have some legs with it.
yeah, absolutely. Obviously, some of the more probably famous character streamers that you guys have heard of would be obviously, how could we not mention Dr. Disrespect?
Yes,
If you
probably the
guys
big one.
aren't familiar with Dr. Disrespect, just do yourself a favor, Google that name, watch some content, and you
Yes.
guys will be blown away. I mean, the lengths that they have gone to establish their brand is just, it's remarkable.
Oh, it
You can
is.
love the guy, you can hate the guy, it does not matter. You will be entertained
The
by him.
quality's there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And personally, I can't stand it, but dang it, he is, like you said, an entertainer, and it's quality stuff, and it's always something new. There's always some kind of, I'm gonna sound old, hijinks going on with him and his streams and his content. It's always good. But yeah, yeah, there's others as well who uh, now don't judge me, but who's the other one we have on the screen here?
Yeah, so the other one, and don't feel bad if you're not familiar, because this is also someone that I'm just now learning about
Okay.
recently, but Code Miko is another Twitch channel
Oh
that you
yeah,
guys can check out. And
heard that name.
they are using like virtual reality software to project a character onto the screen, which is obviously different than wearing an in-person
Hmm.
costume. But it's actually pretty interesting. I'm not super familiar with the channel, so I don't want to presume to know what goes on there. But I will say one thing I thought was the most notable is they have Code Miko streams, which is like the name of the character that they portray, and they actually interview other streamers in that character, which is really fun to watch. And then they have the technician streams, which is when the virtual AR stuff is gone and it's just the person behind the mask, and it's
Oh
totally
wow.
different. And they interact, they talk to their community, and even when they get interviewed and do the interviews as Code Miko, they treat it like it's completely two separate entities, right? With obviously a
Yeah.
little nod to the fact that it's,
Oh,
all
for
for
sure.
show. But
Yeah.
the reason I thought this was so crazy is because, with Dr. Disrespect and his content and other character streamers, they get really creative about their costume and their set design and green screened elements. But this new wave of VTubers, which I think is the appropriate term based on what I searched up earlier this week, I mean, I saw flaming swords, I saw dragons like interacting with them. Like it's wild, and it's, at its base level, super super entertaining and engaging for a live chat to participate with. So
Yeah, that bar, man, that bar keeps going up and up, man.
yeah, it
Just
does.
the production quality that you got to bring. And I like to say you bring great quality to this podcast, and we're raising the bar on podcasts. If you haven't checked it out live, be sure to check out Always Game Time on Twitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a joint effort, and we're obviously going to continue to build upon this platform, but we do want to invite you guys to join us live and for the full experience of the show.
So, do you think, like a small time streamer, let's talk 15 viewers or lower, do you think them trying a character s- a character out, whether and I'm not going to limit it to streams because I want to open it up to TikTok, Instagram. I think it's you can't lose anything. I mean, maybe a little bit of pride, but we're already on
Yeah.
social media. We don't have any pride left anymore.
Yeah, no, I
We
mean,
put
I think
everything out there.
if you are the type of person who enjoys being over the top, outgoing, like the theatrics of your stream, or even if you're not, but that's like the way that you want to escape and express yourself creatively, there's a market for this now. So it's not like
Yes.
you're doing something that hasn't been done before. Your character will be what's unique, and that's going to be what draws people in. But there's not like this shame factor. If anything, people kind of love and gravitate towards these outrageous and wild characters that we see playing our games
Yeah.
and streams. And if you're a smaller streamer and you combine that with streaming in, niche cups and markets on Twitch, then the chances of someone clicking on your stream if they see you wearing a big afro and like goofy clown glasses or something, it just goes up, and that's going to be your opportunity to captivate them and turn them into longtime viewers. And so there's kind of a pros and cons list here, and just kicking it off, we'll start with some of the pros. Ryan, I want to give you kind of the floor to speak your mind on these.
Well, no, I'm going to read what we have here, and the big one that you nail, and it's often overlooked, is being able to keep your stream life separate from your off-stream life, right? I mean, if you're just coming in and hitting a character, it makes it a lot harder and a lot less dependent on your off-stream life, right? Let's say you had a crappy day at work or with the family, or just, things were going rough, and then you want to come down and try to stream. Sometimes you need to separate the two, and I think that kind of helps a little bit. Stay, have some fun, really separate, and still keep that fun in your content creation.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say conversely, one of our cons is that it can lead to inconsistency with your streaming due to not feeling like playing your character. If you're someone that's always 120% yelling, loud, rambunctious, really into the games, and having that hard time or difficult week, you might not want to be in character. The whole reason you started a character in the first place was to have fun, and now it might start feeling like a chore because your fan base has come to love this character, and if you don't do it, they're going to be like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah. I mean, it's a two-sided coin.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we covered actually most of our list kind of in those.
I think so, yes.
Sentences, but if you guys have more ideas, or if you know of other character streamers, we're certainly like, I feel like even though it's
on characters, right?
Yeah.
Like is that a turn off for anyone? Do you like if for me, if a TikTok comes up and it's a character and I can tell it's a character, nope, that's a swipe. But if it's a stream, I might give it a few more minutes than I usually do.
I don't think it changes too much for me
on the genre, right?
Yeah, I think, if a lot of the streamers that I like are kind of outgoing, rambunctious, or whatever. Anyway, but I think people follow people on Twitch for all sorts of reasons. Either they're really good at the game, or they're really funny, or it could be anything. And so,
chill.
Yeah, nice chill, like kind of there's a lot of ASMR channels. So, anyways, that's a whole other discussion. But the point being, if I see a character streamer, I'm probably likely to reach a decision if I'm going to stay faster, but I'm going to get to the point of making a decision, which is something that not a lot of streamers get. They don't get the exposure. They don't get the chance to earn that follower. So,
and before we cut the segment, I want to give a shout out, because I think I bet like 85% of female streamers throw on a character. Right? They have to throw on that shield because of all the crap they put up with. And I want to give a shout out to them for putting up with that crap. I have to give them a little praise and shout out to them.
And I think that's just a huge, bigger issue of Twitch. Obviously, if you guys are familiar with our movement here at all, at Always Gametime, like my root channel, we're all about ending toxicity in gaming. And if you extend that another level to streaming, like no one should be getting harassed or discriminated against on their platform, and so it's an issue that we've seen. It might be something that we take a deeper look at in a future episode of the podcast.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, it definitely would be good to open up that conversation and dialogue, and just kind of bring more attention than there already is to the issue. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, discrimination in all forms against anyone on Twitch is a huge thing right now. So, but in any case, yeah, like Ryan said, let us know, tweet at us, join our Discord. If you guys have questions or comments about anything that we've reviewed in the show overall tonight, we would love to talk to you guys about it and continue that conversation offline. It's been a big week, lots of stuff to talk about. We're excited to continue to do the show. One thing I mentioned it earlier, we do have a new Instagram account. Would love to have you guys follow us over there. We're going to kind of post more of our visual content to that platform, unlike our Twitter, which will be more for updates. And so, yeah, I guess if there's anything else, now would be the time, Ryan.
Yeah, no, that's all we got. Spread that peace and love. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Ben. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Always Gametime Podcast.